Hey everyone, welcome to episode 1, part 2 of the Three Pillars podcast. We're glad you're here. Okabe-san, Thomas, and I talk about a range of topics from what it takes to interview at a Japanese game company, to the origin story of our company, Conduit, to why Valentine's Day is different in the US versus Japan versus Belgium. So grab some chocolates or maybe some roses, and let's go to part 2 of the first episode. Ikimashou. Just a disclaimer. Everything that's shared on this podcast are the opinions of us three and our individuals, not as companies. So unfortunately, we're not going to be breaking any confidential release dates for upcoming Capcom titles. People are free to ask, but they'll probably get met with the same response as which is silence. So also open to any feedback and questions listeners have for future episodes. So why don't we go through and just explain a bit about what we're all doing here and how this came about. So Okabe-san, you want to?
ありがとうございます。カプコンの岡部と申します。ディスクレイマーでも言った通りなんですけど、我々の一応今回の趣旨としては、3人の、個人的な、意見は言うことになると思うんですけど、会社を代表して何かをするっていうものではなくて、今回ポッドキャストをするにあたって、いろんな実験を皆さんとしていけたらなと。で、今我々の部門は特に積極的に人を採用しているので、ぜひ興味のある人は来てもらいたいと思ってます。で、ちょっと私の簡単な PR もここはもう訳さなくていいと思いますけど、もう本当に短くだけでいいと思いますけど、今回そのポッドキャストをするにあたって、できれば私はできるだけ日本語を話して英語圏の人たちにはトーマスから軽く説明をしてもらうにしてもできれば日本語のままで皆さんが理解できない部分はちょっと想像してもらうことになるかもしれないですし、誰か日本語が分かる人がちょっとどこかでね日本語をどういう日本語だったかみたいな解説をしてくれてももしかしたらいいのかなとは思ってた。ちょっとそこは実験的にやろうと思っているので、今後できればいろんな人の意見を聞きながら変えていけたらなとは思いますと。で、私はカプコンにおいては今4年目ぐらいにはなるんですけど、ゲーム業界的に言うと多分20も数年ぐらいでずっと開発をしてたんですけど、最近はビジネスの方の部門に移って新たな何かビジネスの開拓をしようと頑張っていると。で、このポッドキャストもその一つの実験的なところの一つとして甲斐さんもTwitch の時に仲良くなったので、ぜひ甲斐さんの会社と一緒に何かできてればなっていうところも含めて、いろんな実験できそうな場所を作っていこうと思ってますので、今後とも皆さんよろしくお願いします。これが長くできるかどうかもいろんな、皆さんにもかかってるし我々にもかかってるし、あとはいろんな環境にもかかってるんで、あんまりコミットしてる感じを出すとね、すぐにやめてしまうと残念になるかもしれないですけど、すぐにやめるかもしれないですし、長くやるかもしれないです。どちらかというと長くやるために今スタートはしようと思ってますけど、そんな感じで考えてます。ちょっと長く日本語で話すと編集が大変だと思うんで、これぐらいにしておきます。
I'll try to briefly summarize. So basically this is Okabe-san from Capcom. And basically in our department, how this came to be, we want to experiment with a lot of things. So that's why we're doing something like this as well. Hopefully we'll be able to do this for a very long time. But of course it's an experiment, so there's always a chance that we might cut it off shorter. And we're also actively hiring, so if you're interested, feel free to reach out. So Okabe-san's been in the video game industry for about 20 years, and you've been with Capcom for 13, was it 14? 14 years. 14-ish years, yeah. Used to be a producer for more on the development side. But nowadays he's more on the business development side, which is also why we're doing experiments like this and seeing what we can do. That's thank you for listening, and hopefully you will continue listening, I guess.
Thank you.
Just an introduction from my end. So I'm Thomas. I've been with Capcom 7 years. right now. I've done many things, mainly on the business side, but I've also worked together with Okabe-san on as a producer on titles like Capcom Arcade Stadium and Capcom Arcade Second Stadium, as well as Google Stadia.
懐かしい。
Yeah. So so I've been so we are based in Japan. I've been living in Japan for about 11 years now. So yeah, that's kind of who I am.
Nice. And this is Kai. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Conduit. We help games get discovered, whether that's through automatic social marketing tools that we build ourselves, or from doing things like this podcast with our friends at Capcom. I have worked in games for maybe 8 years now. Before that was in music, and I think I just really enjoy helping creative people tell their stories. I unfortunately don't find myself being that creative person making the music well or the games. But yeah, I think, part of the premise of this podcast is that, I think like Okabe-san mentioned, and we've worked together for, a number of years now. I don't know, it's probably 7 or 8 across different teams, different projects. And it's always just kind of fun to see how you can reconnect. And we definitely wouldn't have been able to predict 3-4 years ago that this is what would be happening now. But yeah. Oh, so yeah, so you were saying, because you would have the beard, that then they would want you to still like defer to them?
Yeah, I think it's more of an age thing instead of how you look. And like even if they don't, I think if it's in the company, they kind of want to know how old you are. So they ask like, when did you join the company, or like how old are you? And once they know you're younger, then it's like, then you're back on the bottom.
Yeah, officially or not. Yeah.
In Japan, we still have like a senpai kohai thing.
Yeah.
And then also the age is so matter to us. That's why the first question is like, how old you are.
Yeah. Or like when, But senpai kohai is also, sometimes it's not like how long you've been at the company or working. Because like sometimes, like I did a master's degree. So actually some of my colleagues are younger than me. But they might be like a year earlier that they joined the company. So they're technically my senpai, so to speak. So
I see.
So it's it can get complicated at times.
Yeah, sometimes it's complicated. But,
So he's a year younger than me, but he's been here a year longer than I am. So I guess technically he is my superior, he's my senpai. So I have to be nice. I have to use nicer words for him.
So to calculate that, you have to. There's looking at age at the company as well as the person's actual physical age. Okay. Huh. There's like a complex like math algorithm to figure this out.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, you are officially my senpai.
Yeah, it's like. And the answer is senpai.
Kohai, senpai.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, he's like, okay, Yamamoto-san. Or otherwise, okay, Yamamoto-kun.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And once we have your own, AI assistant dealing with all your emails, it'll be able to do its calculation. Ding.
That's funny.
Yeah, I wonder. I've thought about this before. Like, is there anything like similar in American culture? I find, at least from my own experience, I feel like I am more comfortable talking casually to the person if they are younger. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like if I'm older, I have the right to be like, hey, like, what's up, man? Even in an email, like, what's up, man? Write it out. But like, they don't really have the option to do that back. So that's like the privilege.
Yeah.
I get.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. You kind of forced to align or not align or set the tone yourself. Right?
I'm allowed to set the tone, maybe. Right. Yeah. Although sometimes it's like still like I don't really want them to reply to me that casually. I just get to do it in a way. I'd be like, oh yeah, bro, totally. I'd be like, wait, what are you saying? Whoa, out of line. Yeah.
I've had that before as well. I get like a response in English. I'm like, let's not get too casual. Okay. There should be some distance between them.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, well, like a Bay Area company or someone. You're like, hey.
I guess things have been going pretty well, no? For like Conduit as a whole, or like recently the
So actually, I'm not sure about your company yet. So could you
What do we do?
explain
Yeah.
a little bit more?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's funny. You're not the only person that says that. So yeah. We almost have like two parts to the business. There's like what we work on, which is more like kind of like specialty projects with like certain companies. But then the other side is basically software tools for game developers. So the goal is to develop things that would be useful for both like one person solo developer all the way up to like a large AAA publisher, but basically making games go to market and community building affordable. Because you have like, so many people making games, lots of new tools for developing the game, but there's so many now, it's hard to discover new games. So the first product, which maybe you saw with the GDC, it's basically like a automatic social marketing. So we can take someone's LinkedIn profile, turn that into like a GDC post, or we could take someone's Steam profile, turn those into TikTok videos, combine it with copy that we write with AI. So then basically all we need to do is just create these designs, and then we can run as much game content through it as we want. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's confusing because we are kind of working on a few things at once.
Yeah.
I'm missing like a noun, one word. Like I think about it as a distribution network, what we're working on, because we don't make games, right? But we're good at identifying one customer, one type of content, like a game, bringing that, transforming it or changing it, and then putting it somewhere else, like Steam to TikTok, LinkedIn to video. So it could end up evolving where someone, say, you make a game in Unreal, then with Conduit, all you have to do is connect with Conduit, and you immediately have TikTok videos getting posted, LinkedIn profile built, your game's up on Steam, different app stores. So we could basically be one place to set up and distribute your game.
Only setting up the distribution, like if we make the game and then we also have to make some kind of the video for the distribution, right?
Yeah.
Or you guys can handle in the video part as well.
Yeah, we basically work with whatever the game has. So if you just have some footage maybe that you record from the build or in the trailer, but then we can take that one video and make it 10 videos. So
Okay. Okay.
So it's made to be.
This is for the TikTok. This for the YouTube.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
Same asset but a different.
Exactly.
And then maybe little different edition for the different platform.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's almost like a content multiplier
Yeah. Okay.
in a way.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that's the same what we do with Steam today, right? The way we use Steam, it's almost like just like a demo, so people can get a feel for it. So this works in our Discord today. So everyone has a trailer, right? A 3-minute video. So we take the trailer and the screenshots and the description they have from Steam, and then we like kind of know, okay, trailer's going to be this long. We don't want the part with the words. We want the gameplay, the music. And then we take the description and we figure out good marketing messaging, combine it with trends we see on TikTok, like, oh, this Power World meme is really popular. So then we'll actually identify that and then use that to design the asset. So then it just saves the developer all the time of making marketing as part of current trends or putting it on their channels. So
you are doing basically for the indie developers, right?
Yeah. So far, most people that use the tool are indies. We've worked with a couple indie publishers that have like a few games.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like a PR agency, but it's how different from the normal type of the PR agency in your company?
Yeah. So, another one thing is we're software, not an agency.
Oh, yeah.
So we can work with 100 or 10,000 games if we want. Like we basically have no limit to how many games we take in and run through the channels we've set up. We're just trying to get better at more detailed. So, because like every game is different, like, you know, a shooter game on PC, very different than like a card game on mobile. So we have to like design enough specifics. So when the game shows up, we know, okay, it's card this, okay, I know what's good for this. I have a recommendation, and then we can put together that package for them. But the goal would be that's all just fully automated. Like, so all we have to do is make sure those core templates or like the outputs are good. That's why we're hiring more people to work on the actual creative. But then all of the tagging and the learning is automated. And then the actual asset creation is also automated. So, yeah. So it's like PR agency, maybe you would have needed, you know, 100 people to work with, whatever, 300 games. But for us, you'd only need 5, 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Good idea.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think the we'll see. I think with I'm excited about the GDC creator because, like, that's, you know, those are like our friends. It's like I could also be curious to see later what you think of the tool. But it's basically kind of a showcase, I think, of what the technology can do. So we'll see. Hopefully, after that, someone sees us like, oh, like, you know, that was pretty easy. Oh, like what else could this be for? Maybe like virtual events or like certain game themes. Yeah, that's the tech side. Yeah, that's what we got. Yeah. You're three engineers, 2 BD, me. Yeah, we have a creative director, getting a community manager, and then did 2 interns for making the content. Yeah, it's kind of fun because it's like, you know, we get to, like stuff like the podcast and then like looking at all of the games, like, you know, with you and people. But then, yeah, then it's like we also are like trying to build this content machine. So it's like, how do we pull things down, reduce the number of steps? Very much like software service business. So, which I really like software service business coming from Prime. Like I think it's really interesting to think about because it's like it could always be simpler. It's like even today. We're like, oh, we made everything simple because we moved it to Discord, and we realized it takes 18 steps for someone to like make an asset. I'm like, oh my god, like that's so many. Yeah, the little things, and then it's like, okay, I think this is way simpler. Okay, it's still 9. I'm like, oh man, yeah. So right. Yeah.
So what's your title in your company right now? Like
CEO.
CEO, right?
Yeah.
So you start the company. Your idea was someone's idea, and you joined the company, or how to start?
How did it start? Yeah. I guess I should say my title technically is co-founder and CEO, but basically I and GC last year, I technically started the Conduit company 2022 and had a couple co-founders that didn't pan out. Like I was trying to figure out something in games with game developers as a customer. But then it wasn't until GDC last year, GC and he was actually still kind of like he was like leaving like another job. But we were both at GDC. We both were really excited to just talk to developers. And so kind of I went in with like an idea to GDC, like, oh, okay, I think developers need this, specifically indies. And then by the time came out of the conference, my opinion was different because they actually, none of them wanted that thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what's great about conferences. You can like test ideas rapid fire. Yeah. Like, what do you do? And then you like, they still look puzzled. Like, okay, that didn't work. Try something else. Yeah. How about this? Oh, I get it. Oh, okay. So that did work. Okay. Yeah. And so I was just basically trying to figure out what people need. And so, you know, talk to like 30 probably different developers, GDC in a couple of weeks after. And I was like, okay, you know, what do indies have problems with? They have a hard time getting, you know, getting publisher like budget. They have hard times with, you know, QA, localization. Okay, like I don't really know how to solve those. And they all hate and need marketing. And so I was like, okay, I know about marketing. Like our team is more like, my connection is more business marketing side. And so, yeah, then we we basically made this really detailed survey of like parts of marketing, like making assets, posting assets, like it's like tell me what I call it, the pain survey. So I was like 1 to 9, how painful is this thing for you? And then just averaged it, and yeah, it was like making assets really hard, regularly posting assets really hard. Yeah. Researching not as hard, actually, turns out, because that's part of the fun part, is like trying to figure out what type of game you want to make. I learned that in a book, actually. Like in US tech culture, they always talk about like product management. And I was never a product manager, but I read a few books on it, and one of the themes was like, how do you try to quantify the people's opinions? And so I just literally copied that out of the book and tried to use that part. Yeah.
So it's really
yeah, but it like led us to think about problems that we weren't thinking about.
What was it that like drove you towards like, I want to start my own business? And because like listening to it now, it feels like you wanted to do something, but you weren't really sure what it was, so you're trying to figure it out. Like I felt like starting something was like the main goal, and then once you start trying to figure out where to go from there, kind of like, it's not like you had this idea, I want to realize this. It was kind of like the opposite. So I'm interested to hear more like why you took the step to like found something and like try to build something out.
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like you hear some people say, oh, I start a company because like, I wanted to be my own boss or do this. I honestly I have no like problem having a boss, but it's just about learning. And like when I was at Amazon, I had a boss that I really learned a lot from the first few years, and I could feel the learning slowing down. I didn't really know where to go from there. And so I tried going to another couple companies, but then both my manager or like team, I just didn't feel like I would be learning that much. And so I was like, well, okay, if I'm having a hard time to find a person or like people to learn from, I'm not saying I know anything, it just happened to be in my circles at the time. I was like, okay, I'm having a hard time doing this. Maybe this is a sign that it's time for me that I actually go and try something of my own. Yeah, I'd be totally happy to have a boss again someday in part of a different company. I don't really have any problem with that. I think it's just about respect and learning. I really feel like that boss led a life or accomplished things that I want to do. At Amazon, it was a mix. Some people I felt like, they came there after they had sold companies, they were professional athletes. They had really interesting lives. I'm like, okay, yeah, like I want to learn from that. And then sometimes I feel like sometimes people that's the only world they know. I just can't relate to them, I think. I'm not saying they're smart or capable or what. It's just, I like don't aspire to be that person, which maybe is a very American thing for me, but I always feel like I'm trying to like see how do I relate or what do I get from being around this person? Do you guys feel the same way, or how do you decide work or what you?
That is a good question. Yeah, I feel now what we're building out and what we're doing with this podcast and stuff, that's what really excites me. Like what I feel like now that I've worked a couple of years, what I always enjoy doing the most is doing something like no one inside of at least Capcom has done this before, which makes me say, okay, cool. Now I want to do it, and I want to try to do it.
Yeah.
I just try to do something new and learn from that. Another part of my work is not working on this, and it's just like, let's do a market analysis and let's do an Excel sheet and so on and so forth. Just me sitting at my desk and researching it doesn't really bring me that much joy. So trying out many different things, or just like, hey, we're going to have this really crazy idea and we'll see where it takes us, but at least let's try to realize it and let's try to make it a success and see where it goes from there. That's what excites me the most. And I think, I've only worked for Capcom, so I don't really know what other work environments are like, but there are definitely people that are really interesting, that have really interesting views or like very well thought out. So that always makes it interesting to listen as well, and to be like, okay, yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but that does make a lot of sense. So kind of that learning element to it as well, I think, yeah.
私の父親って寿司屋だったんですね。で、寿司屋をこれ長い話になっちゃいますけど、父親は寿司屋を継ぐかどうかっていう話を私が中学3年生、高校に行く前ぐらいに、聞いてきたんですよ。今から修行したらすごい腕の立つ職人になれるかもみたいなことを言われて、多分 父親の経験上そうなんだろうなとは思うんですけど、あんまり魅力的じゃなかったんですね。なぜかというと、まあ苦労してる姿をよく見るのもあるし、当然商売なんで難しい側面もあるとは思うんですけど、そこにチャレンジしたいとはあんま思わなかったんですよ。ただ、まあ、今になって思うのはやっぱりその自分の店を持って何かするっていうのが多分一番その自分に全ての決裁権があって自分に責任があってやれる環境であるっていうのが多分自分のキャラクターには一番合ってるなとは思うんですけど、同時にすごく私ってなんていうんですかね、真面目ではないというか、どちらかというとさっきもちょっと話しましたけど働きたくない方なんですよ。なんですぐに働くことをやめてしまうというか、サボってしまうんで、会社とかそういう何かのそのプレッシャーがないと何かをしようという気にあんまりならないので、どちらかというと、もう今家族がいるんで、もうどちらかというと自分で何かしたいという気持ちはあるにしても、会社とかそういう外からのプレッシャーのあることをしないと多分手を抜いてしまうというか、すぐに辞めてしまうというか、なんていうんですかね、あんまり真面目に働かないだろうと思うんで、会社にいる方が家族のためにはいいだろうなと思って今働いてるようなところはあるし、でまあそんな感じですかね。
Yeah, so it's more like well, actually Okabe-san's father used to be a sushi chef.
Yeah.
So around when he was entering high school, he asked him like, "Hey, do you wanna?" If you start learning now, like you could become like a really good chef and like so what do you think about it? And like from a personality perspective, it made sense because I think you kind of want to be your own boss or like have like the right to decide everything on your own. But at the same time, also as he said, like doesn't really like working or kind of like just want to lead like a nice pleasant life, right? So from that sense, it probably didn't work out. So maybe if there's like some sort of pressure from work where he kind of has to like, okay, roll up the sleeves and okay, I got to take care of it. That's kind of why he's at the company right now where he's right now as well, to kind of have that pressure and like to be able to support for his family to kind of work that way.
Yeah. But also currently we are working on the new project that we cannot talk too much here, but it's kind of, very independent kind of project. So we are, actually work for the current company, but also we feel like, we kind of, doing something like a startup company field. So it's very 贅沢な環境だなとは思って。
We're in a very good position, or like a luxurious position where we are kind of still connected to a big company, but at the same time still trying to do something new and like start a picky where it makes sense. Yeah, and I think that's kind of what appeals to me about it as well.
Yeah, actually that's now being on this side, I feel like it will be hard to go back to, because like say, you need me to quickly sign the contract, and I just go in, double check his same contract, and I just sign it and it's done. It's like a 5-minute process versus like 5 days or
5 days
chasing someone.
And then I get someone from the administrative team who's like, this is slightly different from the summary that you provided, and
you're like, what day summary? Like what? Can you?
Or like, the contract says that they have to be paid at the month after they sign, but you already want to do it like by the end of February. What's with that? I know what I'm doing. Okay, sometimes I mess up, I have to admit. Sometimes I get very
we understand that like we all public company, and then also the big, and then also the audit.
Right? So everything has to
everything
match,
has to
match.
We do everything right.
That's part of how big company keeps it together, is to keep everything working together. It has to have some level of unison, or That's interesting. With your dad as the sushi chef, did you ever like regret not going down that path?
Actually, yes, but my dream is kind of living in the overseas, like anywhere besides Japan. I tried the once in Canada for 1 year, and then I only lived there only for 1 year. I always want to live in maybe Canada or US or any, hopefully English spoken country, but anywhere is fine for me. And if I was the sushi chef, maybe I can get the visa in the US. It's more easier. Now it's not maybe 10 years, 20 years ago, it's quite easy to get the visa for the US to live there.
Yeah, for work.
Yeah, for work. But I don't really regret for just a sushi chef. Sushi chef is kind of tool for the,
I felt that. Me too.
That's true. It's not actually about the sushi. He could have been,
But if I'm the rich enough, maybe I want to have kind of, running the sushi restaurant. No, I'm not. I don't want to be a sushi chef. Just I'm an owner of some kind of the restaurant. Maybe.
Sure. How old was he when he retired? Did he retire?
Yeah, he already retired. Also, he passed away 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, he after graduate high school, he start his career for the sushi chef, and he maybe retired like 75 or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Very Japanese as a professional.
Yeah. Was there like a trodden path before you?
Yeah, well,
Thomas and your family?
so I have 3 older sisters.
That's right, yeah.
And so my dad is a dentist. He has his own clinic, and there was pressure, of course, like, hey, you want to also become a dentist? But luckily, the third sister, she became a dentist, so she's now working at his clinic. So she kind of
took one for the team.
She took one for the team. But I always back when I was like in middle school, even like I was just like, I want to study Japanese, and I want to study 1 year abroad in Japan. And one way that you could do that was to study Japanese, and then if you study Japanese at university, then you can get, if you're lucky, you can get 1 year abroad in Japan. And so that was always the goal. And before I had like concerns about like, well, will I be able to find a job? Is this a good career path? But I met someone who was online. I spoke to someone who was studying it back at that time when I was still in high school. And he's like, yeah, you shouldn't worry about it. Plenty of people find jobs, and like. It's also very common, like, even if you don't do anything with Japan later on, you can still go and work for a bank in Belgium, like whatever. You will still find some way. But so then I finally did that year abroad, and then I was like, yeah, it's really cool. I really enjoy it. So I'm just going to stay in Japan and try to find work in Japan here. Try and figure out what like working in Japan is like. Yeah. So
So it's like you kind of you knew like at least probably maybe I feel like there've been times in my life too. It's like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? It's like worst case, you can be at home, probably find some job to support yourself in an environment family, friend support. But the unknown, it's like you kind of just gotta like get over there first, or like just take the first step. You don't have to have it all figured out when you land.
Right. Yeah, so, something like that. I think.
Actually, that's one interesting thing too. If you guys saw the news that I have some friends talking about Japan's coming out with the digital nomad visa.
I've heard about this. Yeah,
they're allowing, as of a week ago, I think the government announced that foreigners can come work remotely in Japan for 6 months. Yeah, I'm assuming you have paid taxes then. Yeah, but that's why they would. But it was like although also in the region you have, I think Korea already has a 2-year digital nomad visa. Okay. So Japan went from like 3 to 6 months. So it's like some movement, but like not as expected, not as drastic as others in the
usual,
region.
Right?
So
I think I remember reading about it. You have to make like 10 million Japanese yen a year or something like that in order to be eligible. So you have to already, 10 million. Well, now for Europe and US, it's not that much amount anymore, but
today,
still,
with the exchange rate.
With the exchange rate. So, but still a pretty good, fairly decent job in order to be able to apply. I think
that's right. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Okabe-san, if you had to pick one city to move to right now, what city would be? Yeah, right now.
That is a good question. Actually, I have the 2. Ideally, I want to stay in the Canada during the summertime, and then the winter maybe I live in the Australia, somewhere in Australia. This is my idea life plan in the future.
Always summer.
Always. Yeah.
This is summer, yeah.
That's smart. Yeah, you don't want to be there for Vancouver winter. No, it's really no bike riding for you. Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of people, we call them the snowbirds. They like come from Canada or Seattle to where I grew up, Palm Springs, which is awesome. It's a great place in the winter, not the summer. So if you're like Seattle or like Calgary and Palm Springs, solid. You're good. 6 and 6. Yeah. Yeah, Thomas, you were saying at one point you were thinking about your family might move back to Europe, right?
Right,
Belgium.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. In reality, yeah. It's like
on the one hand, like sometimes it's nice to be back.
yeah.
Because it is like comfort. It's like the old pair of slippers, right? It's comfortable. You know what it is, and like I've been in Japan so long where I kind of forgot sometimes what it's like to be in Europe, or like like when we went to Paris last week. Really stupid stuff, but like after dinner, everyone always drinks coffee, and I was like, oh yeah, I always used to have coffee after dinner. I completely forgot about that. So you kind of forget it. So it's nice to get connected to that side of yours again,
like
rediscover it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel living in Japan is also quite interesting.
Yeah.
So
So your family can notice like you change some characteristics because you live in Japan.
Yeah, they did. They have told me before, like before we were talking, I was like, I'm very direct in when I speak Dutch, but like now I think now that I speak Dutch to my daughter again, it's become a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
But before they were like, yeah, sometimes you were talking and you were saying stuff, but we didn't really know what you were trying to say, or like it was all too roundabout, so we didn't really know what you wanted to mean, or like you say it's okay, is it really okay, or like it becomes like more cryptic, or like like more Japanese, like or you have to like read the room and read the air, like which they don't do obviously. So they have said it changed, but yeah, at the same time, I can't imagine working in Belgium and like taking the car to work, being in traffic jam for an hour, then getting to the office, going back. I mean, it sounds a bit boring, I guess. So
yeah. It's like if life is your time, then yeah, you're really gonna sacrifice that huge percentage. Like, is it worth it?
Yeah. At the same time, of course, it's like because living in Japan is fun, but also it's sometimes hard because it isn't your. I mean, you can adapt, but how to say, like you can try to be Japanese, but at my core, I'm not Japanese, if that makes sense. So you can try to get along with it and do your best to get along with it, but at the core, or something like, it's. Or just elements like, oh, this is just really annoying and I don't feel like doing it right now, but I'm in Japan, so
it's like you would naturally make decisions a certain way, and you have to make a lot of little decisions every day. So it's like the natural stream is like not the local. I could see that.
Yeah, so that sometimes like so I feel like with Japan as well. So it's kind of like being in a marriage or like having a girlfriend, like sometimes you're like the start, you're like everything is great, and then you start to see everything more objectively.
Honeymoon's over.
You're like, oh yeah, now I really love Japan. Then it's like this and this I really don't like. So you kind of get a bit more down on it or not enjoy it that much. So it kind of fluctuates. So sometimes it's easy to say,
that's a big thing in the US too.
I have my own
opinions about that.
I don't know why it ends up being like that actually. Like why?
And cigar butts
everywhere. Because you can smoke everywhere, right?
Oh, yeah. It's funny, like my dad actually in Palm Springs, he is like the one guy that will just quietly go around and like pick up trash.
Wow.
And like on the hiking trails and places, he'll like clean up graffiti or like pick up plastic. He will actually pick up people's dog poop.
Really?
On the trails. Yeah. Wow. Which is like, no one's doing that. He's the exception to the rule though. Like there's really not... That's the thing. It's like, oh, if they're doing it, I'm doing it too.
Yeah.
So
no, I think that makes sense. Or like, I'm cleaning up my trash, but I shouldn't be cleaning up everyone else's trash. Everyone should do that by themselves. It's not my responsibility.
That's right. It's the self.
The self.
Yeah, it's about me. So.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because like when I go out with like my wife and kids, like when my wife sees trash on the ground, she picks it up and she throws it away. I'm like, I'm not touching that. That's not mine. That's not mine. Like that's not my garbage. That's not my responsibility. Which just showed a difference in thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Paris?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about the city?
Oh, let's see. I think last time I was there last year, I think. To me, what stands out is just, I mean, how long that city's been around. Because to me, as an American,
Yeah.
coming from places with buildings and, you know, even cities, nowhere I've really lived is more than 200 years old. It's like Paris, you can just tell how much has been like built upon each other. Like really old buildings, different architecture, different times. Yeah, it's a lot in one. I think one thing that stood out to me, I don't think I'd moved back to LA yet, but I like that Paris is as diverse as LA is.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you have like, you know, French-speaking people from Africa. I saw like Spanish people, like other Europeans, Americans. It's like when I was living in Berlin, it's really, people are like very conscientious. And anything, people actually do make a big effort in Berlin to, I think, keep the streets pretty clean and things. It's like reasonable, but it's also not that diverse. Yeah. So it has like a really good mentality, but then by the numbers, like being on the street, I think I actually feel comfortable in diversity in a way.
Right.
Or like when it's not there, I like kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's different when you come to like Japan or Korea. You like expect it. It's like, you know, yeah, like mostly Japanese or Korean people, but I don't think I'll be moving to Paris anytime soon.
But what do you think? What do you think? I was in Paris. I feel safer than the San Francisco or LA.
Oh, probably. Yeah. I think on the span of European cities, Paris is also less safe too.
Yeah.
Paris is definitely less safe.
Maybe around our hotel is a nice
we
place.
were a pretty nice area.
Oh
so.
yeah. But yeah, I was just in San Francisco last weekend to run a half marathon, but then there was a big storm. It didn't happen. Long story. But yeah, I used to live in San Francisco. We all know from GDC, right? Like what it's like around the Tenderloin and downtown area. And yeah, I mean, there's still like a lot of, you know, mentally ill people on the streets. I think, again, this is just my opinion. I feel like it's almost, I don't feel like that is that different. It's just that there are no more people like going to work and just like normally living the city to contrast or balance it out in a way. So it stands out more in San Francisco. But then LA, yeah, there are parts you definitely just don't want to go to at all. But you can also avoid them because in San Francisco, I think it's like if you're in downtown, it's all intermixed. Right. Yeah, whereas LA, unless you're in downtown, you can kind of avoid it. Yeah, LA is very avoidant culture. Yeah, a little pocket somewhere, and
okay, now that's interesting.
Yeah. And one thing I should say too, the people, you know, they're homeless in San Francisco. Part of the reason is why they're in downtown San Francisco is because that's where they get services. Like they have a place to sleep, they get food, they get benefits. So they're like these protected, you know, nonprofit or city businesses there to support them. That's partly why they're there.
Okay.
So it's like you'd have to move those businesses with them in a way. If you know, everyone always talks about how you move them, but yeah. So it's
interesting.
it's a whole thing. So are you excited for San Francisco next month?
Next month.
It's already next month.
Yeah.
It's soon, right?
Yeah, it's very soon. Yeah.
I know. How about like GDC India or any of the new territories you guys been covering?
Yeah, we haven't really. I know other people are going to like GDC India, but our department not directly now. So we're going on these big trips ourselves, right, without any event related to it. So like Indonesia next week and so on and so forth to kind of figure out those markets more.
Yeah, and I feel like that's always part of it too, right? That's why I always like coming to Japan or somewhere else when it's not really a game convention, because then you get to have meetings just as part of someone's like normal life. It's not so rushed or like you only have to certain amount of time. Yeah. So
I have to pitch this in 30 minutes and then he's on to the next one. So, next thing. Yeah,
it's like we're Conduit, we do the marketing stuff. Then the GDC pitch meeting is So
Kai-san, I have the quick question for you. The Kai is do you have any kanji character for your name? Or?
Yeah, I do. It's I don't think. Oh, actually, hang on a second. It's actually on my new business card.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Let me. Which I guess is a good time. You know, we're filming or recording this from Osaka in Japan, so we're doing the the quintessential business card exchange. Yeah. We got them in white this time instead of those funky black ones. Yeah, the black one was kind of weird. Yeah, it's actually. I don't know if it's directly in Japanese, but it has the
Maybe more like
Chinese.
Chinese
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
think Chinese
Yeah.
kanji. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, nice.
yeah.
Have you ever tried to adapt the Chinese character for your
I no, I had a very how in Japanese you call it chunibyo. I had a very like how to say
Oh yes.
wanna be cool Japanese kanji, but I never tried to adapt it. Like was the to was the to from Hokuto no Ken.
Hokuto no Ken? Oh, okay.
That to, and then the ma was from Maho, and then the su was from Hisu. So it was very like chunibyo.
12秒暴走族が壁に書く当て字の漢字みたいなよろしく的な
Yeah, so it was quite juvenile. I guess.
yeah
Oh, yeah. Was it pulled from like manga or
Yeah,
like?
yeah. The tone was like, yeah. The ma was from like magic that you would like magic, and the su was from like definitely or something. It's very like very juvenile kanji. I don't know what the to from Hokuto is though. I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, it was also something like
Oh, that's cool though.
something stupid. Yeah.
You can come back as like your DJ name or something.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe who knows, yeah.
Yeah, or game developer pen name.
Do you ever have the nickname in your country or in Japan?
I did have a nickname. I chose it when I was 8 years old, but people used to call me Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy, yeah.
Is there any specific meaning for the Tommy
No, it
Boy?
was just I was 8, so it was just Thomas. Well, it's a very stupid story that probably doesn't need to be here, but my mom used to call me Tommy in Dutch, which is kind of like a cute name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so I was Tommy and I was a boy, so I was Tommy Boy. That makes sense.
Oh,
yeah.
because you were also the boy amongst the three sisters
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
so
maybe that's probably why it stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that actually Tommy Boy sounds actually very American to me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, from like maybe the 90s.
Yeah, it was in the 90s as well. So maybe some American
80s?
movies and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, like I feel like it's like something like gangsters in like Boston or something. It's like, hey, it's Tommy Boy, Tommy Boy. Hey, yeah, what's up, man? Have a beer. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
How about you, Okabe-san?
Yeah. Any nicknames?
Actually, no. There's, but when I was the elementary school student or something, people call me like my first family name is Okabe, and then usually Japanese people shorten the name or the nickname, so Okabe, and then only they call me the Be.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's
Be.
interesting.
And then also we have the like a kun-san things, like more friendly one is kind of chi. So
okay.
so they call me the Betchi.
Wow. Oh, interesting. Wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah.
So I think I've heard you introduce yourself at a game show before as Michi.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're first the second name, right? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. So maybe
Michi.
for you, maybe Tomasuchi.
Thomas
Tomasuchi is a more friendly one.
Yeah. I think the chi is similar to like the Tommy I explained before.
Yeah.
It has that similar vibe.
Okay,
I think.
okay.
Yeah. Any nicknames for you, Kai?
Yeah.
Kai does sound pretty short. So
Yeah.
I know.
Do you have any longer your name?
Longer? Well, actually, I have two middle names. So on John and Lai, and so my whole name is 4 one-syllable words. Kai, John, Lai, Boyd. John was my dad's brother, my uncle. Lai was my mom's Chinese maiden name.
Oh, okay.
And so some of my friends throughout the years, I think especially when I studied in China before, my name was like the first name, Kai John Lai. And so, yeah, I have some friends that know me better actually call me the whole name.
Oh, really?
Kai Jamai. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Which is weird because my parents never called me that. It's like literally just on my ID.
Right.
Hard to get shorter than that.
Yeah.
Although that is cool, just to take one syllable.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been Kabe.
Yeah.
Something,
Yeah.
like Kobe.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to call me Betchy.
In English, almost it's
Bitchy.
Difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you want to, if you're about to, go into a negotiation or something with English-speaking team, that might throw them off.
Yeah.
Hey, introduce yourself. Oh yeah, just call me Betsy.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Also,
Yeah.
my first name in the Michiteru, and then sometimes I ask the people and they call me Michi, and then in Korea, it means the Michi means like a crazy person or something like that. So yeah.
Oh.
So Korean people told me that when I living in the Canada, and then we have the like a friend from the ESL school, and then they said that Michi means the kind of crazy person. I forgot about something like that. Yeah.
So it's not true for you? Not too crazy.
But it's good. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe then you're the one that keeps everyone else on their toes. You don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah. Don't know what to expect.
Yeah. Well, one thing that a friend wanted, I said, we're starting this podcast together with Capcom. What's something you'd want to ask? And something I heard from a couple people is just about like, how do you get into the Japanese games industry in general? How do you get a job at Capcom, or like, what is that like? I guess, Thomas, you've had firsthand experience going through this. I guess both of you also, you had firsthand experience joining the company. I'm curious what your experiences was like. What's the actual process like?
Yeah. I can start. I've been more on the business side, so maybe that's been more straightforward than like actually creating stuff. So in Japan, you have this system where companies hire people that just get out of college. So every year, like all companies start hiring at like the same period. It's changed a lot in recent years, but when I did it, Japanese companies started in, I want to say April or February. Like they opened their slots and you could like join information sessions and like hand in your resume. That's when they started. So I was studying at a Japanese university doing my master's there, and I just handed in my resume and then I just applied and I got a job. So that's how I got in. Fairly simple. Yeah. I mean, it
makes sense.
Makes sense. Well, the process is a little bit more complicated, of course. So you hand in your resume, then you get approved or not approved. Then you do a test, like a simple IQ test or something similar like that you do on the web. If you pass that, you get to the next round. Then you get to like the first interview, which is with just like someone from HR, where they ask like, hey, why do you want to join Capcom? And in Japanese, so I do have to say, like, as we said at the start, we're actively hiring. I did go for the more Japanese track for not like international students, but like I wanted to prove to myself that I could also do it like Japanese people could do it. So I intentionally chose to not do any of the international recruiting stuff, which in hindsight might have been better to do the international recruiting stuff.
Is there any differences between the Japanese hiring this?
I think international one, they don't ask that much about your Japanese or like their Japanese language is not that specific. And I also, like what I mentioned, that period when Japanese companies start hiring, actually international companies, they started hiring earlier. Like in April, Japanese companies start, and then the year before that, in October, international companies start, or like foreign companies start hiring. So they started a little bit earlier.
Oh, are the employees like treated differently, or you get different types of jobs, or?
Yeah, when I was applying, there were recruiters specifically for like those foreigners in Japan, and then you were always hired for like jobs that needed more English, or you needed to kind of be a liaison between like the company and something else. So there were very specific spots where like we need a foreigner for this.
I see.
So it was a bit different. So I feel it's more like the West, where you're hired based on your capabilities. Well, you're hired in Japan as well, rather for a specific role, in general. Because like what happens a lot with Japanese companies is like the job rotation, right? Every 2 years or so, you get put into a new position, or like put into a different department, different team, so you can kind of learn a lot more instead of like being hired for like this specific role that like marketing expert, and then the rest of your career you're a marketing expert. You kind of shift around, so you wear many hats throughout your entire career.
Is that partly because usually or traditionally, if someone joins a Japanese company, they're there for a very long time, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of to
Yeah.
keep it fresh in a way. Or,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. What I've heard is that like they kind of want you to experience all part of the company. So then when you get to a higher position, you know how everything is done. So and you also have the connections to everywhere. So you know like okay, yeah, that department that works that way. So that's why they have problems. Or like if you get higher up the ladder, you can innovate better, or you know how everything is done. That kind of way. Instead of like the stereotypical American company, new department head comes in, doesn't know anything about the industry or about the company, but he tries to.
Happens.
Yeah. So but then they try to fix it or trying to change. So I think it's kind of different from that. Or like
I think Capcom is your first job, right?
Yeah, it's my
have
first
you
job.
ever taken any part-time job in your country or?
In my country, I did three part-time jobs. Two of them were actually. So my sister owns a pharmacy, so I just helped out there during the summer. And then before I came to Japan to do my master's, I worked for a month at like a Japanese company called Nice. Yeah, it's not such a big company, but they how to say in English? Mokuzo. Yeah, so Japanese houses, they have like a wooden frame.
Yeah.
And they sell those wooden frames, or they made those wooden frames.
Okay.
So I worked on like a convention, and I had to like translate for like the Japanese engineers, or like to sell Belgian people on like how cool it is to have like a wooden frame as the basis of a house.
So it was for you're selling to Belgian people in Belgium.
In Belgium, yeah. It was a Belgian convention.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I did some translation there.
Interesting.
And then in Japan, on the side, I translated for like a consultant. He was the middleman between Japanese supermarkets and Mexican pork manufacturers. So he imported Mexican pork. So that's how I started translating emails and like changing English to Japanese, Japanese to English.
Is pork your favorite meat to this day?
I prefer beef.
Was this before or after the pork job?
Before. So that didn't really change, but So that's the kind of. So my first real job was at Capcom. So I don't really know anything besides that.
I see.
So yeah.
Do you remember at the time did you apply to other, was it just game companies when you applied to Capcom? Or was it?
I had to, I really wanted to get in the games industry, and if that didn't work out, I just wanted to make a lot of money. So I looked at five.
You can't get them together.
You can't get them together, sadly. So I looked into finance, and I looked into finance like banks and like insurance companies and so on and so forth, and like more international based like. So that's kind of. I got a job offer at like an insurance company, a big insurance company, and another like company selling. I can't come up with the English word. Handotai.
It was like medical devices?
No, not medical.
Silicon.
Something
silicon related one.
Handotai. Yeah, sorry. Let me quickly look it up. It was basically chips, like electronic chips, importing them from various countries and bringing them to Japan. Which was also pretty interesting. But then I got a job offer at Capcom. I was like, I've always, like, in my studies, I could have gone for the money, but I didn't. And I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. And I really wanted to work in games. And I was like, well, I can always get out of the game business right after a while. So I just chose Capcom.
That's what they all say.
Yeah. And here we are many years later.
Yeah. What specific roles are you guys hiring for right now on the team?
プロジェクトマネージャーでバイリンガルで過去にゲームをやってる必要はないんですけど、ね、何かプロジェクトを 2,3 個やった経験があって、海外との取引経験があって、契約書を締結できる経験があってとかっていう人を探してますね。
I will intentionally not translate that to weed out.
今の日本語が分かるバイリンガルの人を応募してきてください。
We'll have the automatic subtitles on after. Project manager.
Project manager, bilingual.
Got it.
Yeah. International experience.
Got it. Yeah. Noted. Yeah. So anyone listening that knows some Japanese? Would you say like business level?
Business
Japanese
level would probably be
Okay.
would probably necessary. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to come out to Osaka and
Yeah.
talk to some folks here.
Yeah.
So
Osaka is a nice place to live.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I know. I feel like it's the age old comparison, right, between Osaka and other Japanese cities.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about I mean, everyone always thinks Tokyo. Curious? What are there any like when someone says like Fukuoka or like Kobe? Like what are like some of the images you have? Like how would you describe like culture for like other Japanese cities?
例えば東京と大阪の違いってまあ分かりやすく、まあ、両方に住んだことがあるんで東京と大阪の違いで言うと東京はやっぱりその地元の人はすごくリラックスして暮らしてるけども地方から来てる人が東京のプレッシャーに負けている感じがする、よりなんていうんですかね東京に馴染もうとしすぎていてちょっと病んでいる状態、ただ本当に東京にも地元が東京っていう人はすごく普通な感じ、嫌な感じも全くないけど東京に来た地方の人たちがなんか変な感じになっててその人たちが他の地方から来た人とうまくいかないみたいな感じがするんでなんかそのかっこつけしいのイメージが大阪の人からするとあって大阪はやっぱり地元の人が多くて、まあ、そこにいろんな人が来るにしてもどっちかというと地元のノリのままなので、外の人たちがそんなに気合を入れずに大阪に来て暮らしていけるみたいなのがイメージとしては大きな違いかなと思いますよね。どう思います？ What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I think you described it pretty well actually. So Tokyo is such a big city that like people that are originally from Tokyo, they're pretty relaxed and like they don't really feel that much pressure. But since so many companies are based in Tokyo, a lot of people not originally from Tokyo come into Tokyo and they feel like pressure to kind of get used to the city or like live up to the standards of what it is and like some sort of competition between other people that weren't originally from Tokyo, like showing, hey, I made it, or like that kind of sense. While I feel Osaka is more relaxed because people that live in Osaka mainly used to have been here all the time, or like, and even if people come from like outside of the city and move here, there's not that much pressure to like live up to a certain standard or like show that you've made it. So yeah, I would agree that I feel life is a bit slower in Osaka, a bit more relaxed than compared to Tokyo. Also, just less people, so that helps.
That's interesting to say that the competition in Tokyo is from it's like non-native people against non-native people.
Right.
Yeah, so it's almost like then people that grew up there, they're just kind of operating at their own pace, and then it's like everyone else around them is
Yeah. I might add, I feel Tokyo is more like white collar jobs a lot, and I feel, I mean, there's white collar jobs in Kansai and Osaka as well, but I feel Osaka is more like blue collar.
自営業の人が多いみたいなイメージね。
Lots of like small companies, like people that own their small company, and like that.
Oh, so more like entrepreneurial maybe, or
maybe like
I feel like actually that's a loaded word now. Maybe just the
smaller businesses that like have been around for a while, or like the people that started like their own construction company or like other businesses as well. So I feel since people are more mainly their own boss, there's maybe less stress or less pressure in that sense. I don't know about that, but yeah, Tokyo feels more like conglomerates have their offices there, and everyone's like part of those bigger corporations.
渋谷の光栄の中にオフィスがありますみたいな。
Yeah. Like this big, high building in Shibuya. Here, it's where our office is. That kind of.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Would you say then, like in Osaka or Kansai, is there much of like does that translate into like tech or like startup culture now, or like even in games, like do you notice a lot of indie studios or like smaller teams breaking off to do their own thing, or?
ゲーム会社でいうと特に最近だともう最近ちょっと少なくは落ち着いてはきてますけどやっぱりその中国系の会社がすごく投資をしてるんでその小さい、開発中規模もそうですけど、すごくその援助してるからそのあたりでスタートアップでデベロッパーになろうと思ってる人が一時期 なんていうんですかね、なりやすかったんじゃないかなと、最近ちょっと落ち着いてると思いますけど、そういう意味では若干その感じがあるので、スタジオはもしかしたら増えたんじゃないかなとか、ゲーム会社に関してゲームスタジオ増えたのかなとは思いますけどね。ただもっとそのインディーでゲームでスタートアップで頑張っていこうみたいな人が増えてるかどうかはちょっと分かんないですね。もう投資を受けれるってなったら、よりもうちょっとその過去に実績のあるような人たちが独立して会社を作るみたいなのが、まあ一時期やりやすかったんじゃないかなって思いますし、我々の会社からも独立してゲーム作ってる人多いですけど、やっぱりそのどちらかというと中国系の企業のバックアップを受けてる人たちが多いなっていう印象はありますね。なのでなんかそれ以外の本当に学生からスタートアップで、まあ他の業態は多いかもしれないですけど、ゲームでそれをやってる人ってそんなに多いっていう印象が今のところない感じはしますね。What are you saying?
Yeah. No, I think you're right again. Like in gaming specifically, there was for a time there were people that used to work for bigger corporations, then got funding from various Chinese companies and so on and so forth, investors, and then started their own companies. So gaming studios have there have been more studios, but I think the other example, like the typical startup thinking of like, hey, some group of people just starting someone right out of college trying to start something hasn't really been there, or at least we don't feel that way. It might be that there are more indie developers right now. And I do have to admit, like when you attend like a Bit Summit, like indie convention, I do feel there are more and more people. Like it used to be a lot of foreigners, like non-Japanese people come to Bit Summit to present their game, which is of course cool. But I feel like nowadays there's more of 50% Japanese people, 50% from abroad. So I feel there's more of a balance, while before it was maybe more from abroad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because you have, we're here in Osaka, there's Capcom obviously headquartered here. Then you have, Nintendo in Kyoto. What are the other big game companies nearby?
Platinum, which used to be kind of related to Capcom. Or like people that used to work at Capcom founded that. I think Sai Games is in Osaka as well.
いますね。やはりいますね。
I think did CyberConnect 2 also recently?
Recently, yeah.
Opened an office in Osaka. Yeah, I think Konami also recently opened an office again.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I read it somewhere. Might have to fact check that, but yeah.
Interesting. Yes, it sounds like then in Osaka you can kind of stand out more, maybe if you're in technology or games, because it's not so much like, with Tokyo, you have so much competition between people moving jobs or different things.
Yeah, I do feel there's definitely a different vibe in Osaka compared to Tokyo, but I also do feel like Capcom and Nintendo, these games kind of have a different vibe to them compared to like games made in like Tokyo, like Square Enix, or like those more Tokyo-based studios, I feel.
Yeah, how would you what is the feel of a game from Kansai then versus from Tokyo?
なんでしょうね。もう全くもって私の個人的な印象ですけど、東京の方がもうなんていうかな、データドリブンというか、マーケット主導型というか、ビジネスライクというか、で関西の方はどっちかというともん作ったら売れるはずやみたいな、そのどっちかというと気持ちこだわりで作るみたいな感じはしますよね。最近は当然データドリブンな感じでね、大きな企業は皆さんやりますけど、なんかコアなイメージとしてはなんかそんなイメージがありますね。
Yeah, like core image is more like Tokyo is more data driven, and like Kansai is more like as long as it's fun and interesting, or like more core image of like this will probably be like this is interesting, so let's just move forward with that instead of being more data driven, which I think I have the similar opinion of that as well. It's actually I'm not sure of how well known it is outside of Japan, but like Kansai is like do you know manzai, which is like sort of Japanese comedy?
I've heard of it.
It's like basically two people on stage selling like gags. And
I didn't get that.
whoa, Siri. Oh. You didn't have to get that, Siri.
Siri wants in.
Yeah. It's our podcast, Siri. But yeah, so Manzai, I'm not sure if it originated from Kansai, but it definitely is very big in Kansai.
Yeah.
There's a lot of culture about like laughter and like, and as long as it's funny, as long as it's interesting, let's just go for it kind of culture. Which is probably why it's reflected more in games of like, hey, this is more like creative. As long as it's cool, funny, interesting, let's just go for it instead of like worrying about numbers. That kind of style. I feel.
Yeah. It's like more for the fun of it.
Yeah,
Like I was talking to a friend that used to work at Riot recently, and I think now I think it's a bit different. Companies kind of become very large and has its own shareholders and like has to make more driven decisions. But for a long time, that is like how they operated. Was very much like do something that's fun. There's this really awesome, intense culture of gamers on the campus that love games, and so they're coming from the position of like they really understand the customer because they are one of them, and so there's less data in the decisions. And a lot of times, it has goods and bad sides, but it did lead to some really fun games that maybe wouldn't have worked at places that have been making more data, like just purely in data. So
Right.
yeah. Let's see. Wakabe-san, your career at Capcom, what was your favorite project game to work on?
もう正直どれもしんどかったとしか覚えてないんですけど今やってるのもしんどいし全部しんどいみたいなただ、でも今やろうとしてるのが一番やっぱ楽しんでやってる感じは個人的にはありますよね。もう全くなんていうんですかね、誰も踏み出したことのないところに一歩ずつ行くんで、もうすごく不安定だし、すぐに消えてなくなりそうな感じもありますけど、今がやっぱり一番面白いで、それが一番カプコンに残り続けてる。過去においてもずっとその時やってたものが一番面白かったんで、絶えずちょっと違うことができるとか、大きくやることが変わるとか、いろんな経験させてもらってるんで、なかなかなんですかね、どれって選びにくいですけど、どれもしんどいんですけど、一番絶えず今その時の最新でやってるものが楽しかったっていう記憶がありますよね。
Well, to be blunt, like all of them were pretty tough. But like, what is the project that we're working on right now, which we can't really get into too much specifics, is actually the most fun because we're really trying new stuff. But like looking back at the past, every latest project that he worked on was also like very challenging, but also the most fun and rewarding. So that would kind of be the answer.
I see. So everyone is like, you can look back and be like, oh, that was like something new, and like you achieved like a new height or something.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess what were you working on when we first started talking? Devil May Cry
5?
Yeah. What was that like?
あれもやっぱりプレッシャーが強かったんですけど、一つの理由としてはやっぱり久しぶりに一応シリーズとして最新作出すのが10年ぶりっていうところがあったし、やっぱりなんですかね、大きなフランチャイズのメインのフランチャイズ、バイオをやってた時とか割と派生のタイトルだったんで、プレッシャーはありましたけど、なんていうんですかね、どちらかというとビジネスサイドからしてもそんなに大きな数字がつくようなものでもなくリラックスできるみたいなところがあったんですけど、メインのフランチャイズをやってる人たちと比べたら、でデビルは初めてメインフランチャイズをやらせてもらったので、そこのプレッシャーがすごく強かったので、それもあってTwitch の皆さんとかにも積極的に話しに行ったりとか、いろんな人に話しに今もですから同じようなことしてますけど、大きなプレッシャーに打ち勝つためにいろんな人と話せたのが、プロジェクトで一番良かったなと。それが今のね、この甲斐さんとのこのポッドキャストにもつながってるし、そういった意味ではやっぱり大きなプレッシャーになると、私の戦略としてはできるだけ多くの人に助けてもらえるようにいろんな人に会いに行くっていうことをまずやってみるっていうのが、その時から割と、その前のプロジェクトぐらいからですけど始めた感じですかね。で一番多くやったのがそのデビューの時になるかなとは思いますね。
Yeah, so there was a lot of pressure because it was like a new a new numbered entry into the franchise after 10 years. So there was a pressure from that, also from more of a business perspective and the numbers that it needed to hit. So Okabe-san felt a lot of pressure regarding that, because before that he had worked on like Resident Evil Revelations 2, which were like more spin-offs, not like in the main part of the main numbered entries, and like numbers were maybe not as high, or a bit less pressure regarding that. But it was very tough and a lot of pressure. But at the same time, in order to kind of ease some of that pressure, he talked with lots of people like you, for example, at Twitch, and like he was able to make lots of connections, and that all led to here. So in the end, he's very grateful for having that experience. So.
Yeah, it's true. It was like a way to, like, with a project behind you, go out and like try to figure out and meet new people. And I remember when I was working at Amazon Prime Gaming or at Twitch, that was very different than having your own company, which you're starting a brand and everything from scratch. Because back then, I mean, it was nice because everywhere, anyone from your parents' friends to you go to a new country and you say where you work or what you work on, you can get close to household names. It helps a lot. Like gives you a bit of a benefit of the doubt that you can have you get like easier conversations, meetings.
It's kind of similar for us as well when we say, we're with Capcom. You're surprised how many doors it actually opens, or like how instant trust you gain from just that. Like like
within the industry or not, like even if it's not someone that works in games but is just familiar with games. Like I've been telling like friends or family that we're like working on a podcast with Capcom, and I'm almost like testing them. I'm like I don't think they're a gamer, but I'm like do you know the name Capcom? And like still it's like it's cool to see that.
I guess that's also the pressure again, where we have to live up to the
so no pressure, guys. It's new projects which you're hiring for here in Osaka. Can't wait to see what it is. So a little bit about what we're calling the podcast, Three Pillars, and why that is. So obviously there's three of us on the podcast as the co-hosts, but we also are going to try to include three main pillar categories for the show and in each episode. And so one of those, I think an obvious one is geography. And so thinking about Conduit is based between Europe and the US. Capcom's obviously a global company with headquarters in Osaka, Japan. I think the three of us, something each of us are really drawn to, and that we all have a bit is a different background, whether that's across, Thomas coming from Belgium to Japan, Okabe-san, growing up in Japan, but doing, spending time abroad and working with many global folks, or myself kind of similarly growing up in California and now spending more time in Asia as I've become an adult. You'll probably see that as a main theme. So we cover cultural topics and bring in people from different places, which leads to the second pillar, which are indie developers, maybe hiring, but also just highlighting indies from different parts of the world. So I think we all kind of feel, and it's people in the industry can feel that you have people able to make games very easily now, from 12-year-olds building Roblox or Fortnite to huge AAA teams with $100 million budgets still. It's really amazing to see it kind of go the whole span, but that means basically if you have internet and a computer, you can make full games. So that's worldwide, and we'll bring in people to highlight there. And then the last, I think, is just also what's going on in the games industry as far as a news source. So there's been a lot of volatility, a lot of change in the last year. We've have, I think, around 22,000 people laid off in the last few months alone in the games industry. Big changes, but obviously lots of really smart, caring people together. I know that's one thing that I feel like drew me back to the games industry a couple times when I was thinking about trying something else. It's just how humble people can be, how much they care about each other. Like I find in especially other parts of entertainment industry, that's not so much the case, or it's harder to find. So yeah, that's the three pillars. So so another question, if we're going back to Capcom's hiring, and how to get a job there, was very specifically what's it like to interview at a Japanese games company. I don't know, Thomas, do you remember any hard questions that were asked? Or maybe, I guess now you probably ask other people more.
No.
So what do you say when you're trying to stump someone, or what's a key thing you're looking for?
Well, So I guess I'll answer the two questions. So first, when I interviewed as like someone who just came out of college. So the questions were actually fairly easy, or like they have like the certain set of questions that everyone like, why do you want to join? Like, what is something you struggle with when you were a student, and how did you overcome that? Like, what did you do your best at? Like, 頑張ったこと and stuff like that.
頑張ったことはね。
Yeah, so from that perspective, it's fairly easy because you just write a good draft and then you memorize that, and then you can use that for every interview. And you, of course, slightly tweak it when you look up the company. But yeah, so I think when I interview nowadays, since we're looking for bilingual people, I always ask like, what was a moment where you struggled with intercultural communication, and how did you solve that issue? Is always a good question, I think, just because it shows you how aware they are of how different cultures are, or like where miscommunication can happen. And if they're able to give a good answer, they're like, yeah, I tried to do this, but we weren't on the same page regarding this, so that's why conversations didn't go well, but we were able to solve it this way. So that's the question I usually ask.
So you said you used to memorize the questions. You remember what you used to say when someone asked you for a hardship that you overcame, or?
Yeah.
Well, what would you have said? Yeah, go back to your university self.
So before we were talking about how I did like that part-time job for like a Japanese company in Belgium.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the stories that I always said was like, in the beginning, it was really hard for me to translate for those architects or like their engineers, because of course I studied Japanese, but I didn't have that specific knowledge of like, you know, all the engineering terms in Japanese as well. So on my own, I studied like some more of the technical terms. So I was able to translate better. And at the same time, I also changed like how I explained it to Belgian customers, because like a wooden structure, like a wooden base is so different from Belgian culture, to kind of explain it that it's easier for them to take in, instead of just like directly translating, like basically machine translation of everything that they said, and kind of localize it a little bit more and make it go in easier. So that's what I really did my best at.
I see.
So please hire me.
That's great. Well, you'll hear from us next week. How about you, Okabe-san? Was there?
我々その新卒採用とかは我々関係全然してないんですけど、中途の採用はね、自分たちの部門の今アクティブに採用してる部門はまあ1人とか2人ぐらいしか採用できないんですけど、そこでまあ我々がインタビューするときに見るのは、特にもうね、真面目な人だったら正直大丈夫だと思ってます。やっぱりまあ私はそんなにできた人間ではないんですけど、やっぱりそのなんていうんですかね、性格のいい人を雇いたいで、その後の技術的なことだったり仕事の内容ってどっちにしろみんなね覚えないといけないですけど、やっぱり性格ない人じゃないと結局はね、周りも一緒に仕事していくの辛いでしょうし、性格は変えれないですけど、仕事の技術はね別に教えるのは後でできるけれども、やっぱり人の性格は変えれないんで、やっぱりいい性格の一緒に仕事したいなって思うフィーリングのある人だったら正直どなたでも植えるかもかなっていう感じはありますけど、まあ、そこが一番もしかしたら逆に難しいところかもしれないですけどね。なんとなくそこって数値化しにくいところだったりもするんで、なんていうかね、もう本当に喋った感じのフィーリングみたいな感じで、逆にあまりいい採用の方式じゃないのかもしれないですけどまあでもそこがやっぱり重要なんじゃないかな。もう特に今後ね、もうコンプライアンスの時代になってきてるんで、性格のいい人がいいと思います。
Yeah, so basically, rather on like what skills they have, more personality based, or like rather a good personality, which is for people listening, maybe difficult to like kind of try to fix, or like as long as you're serious about it and you have a good person or like good personality, or like we get the feeling like, hey, we want to work with this person because they're very interesting or seem like good people. I think that's the most important, because of course skills you can always acquire on the job or later. But like those personality-based traits are maybe a little bit more difficult to fix or like change. Of course, this is more feeling-based, so it might not be a good way to hire people at all. But that's the current philosophy of that's regarding that. Yeah.
Just in my opinion.
Yeah. So it's like a little bit of like relatability, or like, can you feel like you can spend a lot of time with this person? And
I also think on top of that, like in this AI-driven world that we are slowly going towards, like maybe that part of humanity is the thing that you need to value more now, maybe, more so often.
True. Like skills could be, especially like white collar skills, could be more quickly learned.
Yeah.
Or tool can be used to solve something that would have taken study before.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I remember back in the day when I was at an ad agency out of college, but then I got a lucky break and joined Yahoo after that. And I remember the recruiter like found me and sent me like the salary range and everything, and I think I replied like, "Are you sure I'm qualified for this?" Like, and they said I should interview anyway. So I was like, okay. So I went through it, and then it turns out after I got I got the job, my manager told me that there was another candidate that was actually better qualified, more experience, better interview than I did, but there were a couple things that like really just stood out to him on a human level. One was I was at an ad agency, and like we were working on Nissan cars, and so we had to do a practice presentation. Obviously I couldn't use Nissan, so I just chose like a random car that I liked at the time, which is called the Audi A5. We were going through the presentation, he was like, "Oh, like why did you pick that car?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know, kind of like it. It's cool design." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's my car." And so from there, obviously we were able to like nerd out on the car a little bit. I think the rest is history, right? Wow. It's like you never know when you're putting out like certain details or it's like personal choice can lead to one way or another. So, but
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I always look back. I was like, wow, yeah, it's you never know what sticks with people. So,
一期一会ですね。
Yeah. How do you say that in English?
No idea.
Yeah.
一期一会。
It's a saying like
151.
Like it's truly like magical, I guess, how things sometimes come together and like leads to this one meeting.
Okay.
It's kind of like fate-ish, once in a lifetime chance. Yeah.
This is also a name, Ichigo, right? Is it different?
Ichigo can also be a name, but in this case it's one, and then the kanji of ki, and then one, and then the kanji of ao, like to meet. So one period, one meeting, like one if you directly translate the kanji. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Is that like related to romance at all? It is Valentine's Day today.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Is that showing up in a card somewhere? Someone says.
I don't know. I might try that.
Like just nothing in there, just Ichigo.
You used to put in more effort,
Hey, it's just to the point. Powerful words.
Powerful words. Yeah.
That's true. What was the? See, Valentine's Day. What was? Do you guys remember any favorite gift you received on Valentine's Day?
日本のバレンタインズデーは、まあ、最近ちょっと変わってきて、別に男の人も別にこの、3月14日っていうのがホワイトデーっていうのは別にまだ多分あると思いますけど、バレンタインデーでも別に性別関係なくプレゼントをやり取りするっていう文化になりつつあるのかなとは思うんですけど、海外特にそうですよね、確かね。
そういう理解です。
ただ日本のなんですかね、オールドスクール的な言い方をすると、特に未婚っていうか、学生ですよね、学生の女の子女子が男子に自分の気持ちを伝えるためにチョコレートを渡すっていう文化が長く多分今も基本的にはあると、本命チョコの言い方とするんですけど、やっぱそれがね一番我々としてはビッグイベントなわけですよ、学生の時代には。なので本命のチョコがもらえるかもらえないのか、いくつチョコレートをもらえるのかどうかで、その男性としてのそのポジション争いがされるので、何個もらったみたいな、すごくモテる人は別ですけど、そのモテない人たちの間でもその 2,3 個もらえるかどうかっていうところは大きな違いなので、その母親を数に入れるのか問題とかもねあるんですけど、だいたいその日ドキドキするっていう思い出はありますよね、特に小学校中学校とか小学校の高学年か中学生ぐらいまで、高校になっていくともうちょっとねなんていうんですか、ちゃんとお付き合いが始まったりとかするので、若干またバレンタインズデーの感じも変わってくるんですけど、一番なんか初々しくそのバレンタインズデーが楽しかった時期としては小学校の高学年から中学生ぐらいまでの間みたいな思いではありますね。 もう大人になるともうただの儀式になるんで、
ですよね。
面白くない。もし商用利用され、マーケティングに載せられてる感じがするっていう、ね。
海外もそうだと思う。Yeah, so yeah, in Japan, like Valentine's Day, like nowadays it's changing more and more, where everyone gives like kind of gifts to each other. But like traditionally, it used to be that girls gift chocolate to boys, or like, and then a month afterwards on White Day, on the 14th of March, then boys return the favor and give something to girls. And like so when you're younger, you have like homemade choco and giri choco, right?
Giri choco,
yeah. Homemade is like, I really like you, and this is my way of kind of saying that I like you through chocolate, so I kind of want to date you, I'm interested in you. And then giri choco is just like, I know you, we are friends, so here's like some chocolate, the kind of way. And it used to be like the excitement of, okay, would I get homemade choco this year, or like, or if not, then like how much giri choco do I get? Like, like kind of. It was sort of picking order among friends, like who's the most popular, who got the most chocolate.
Oh,
kind of.
I was saying, how can you tell one is one kind or the other? Oh,
how do you tell the difference
Like,
between giri and homemade?
It's obvious. Like I was saying, like this is a homemade or this is a giri choco.
Okay, they just say it. Okay.
yeah. It's oh, okay, yeah. You give chocolate on Valentine's Day, but if like that is your means of expressing your, your romantic intention.
Yeah,
I mean, there's probably a lot of deep meaning in the chocolate, the shape, it's a white chocolate. Is it? Yeah,
It's all intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is walnuts. What does that mean? It's raisins. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like in US, there's not as much. Yeah, I feel like the guys don't receive. I mean, you definitely sometimes if you're dating someone, you do get gifts back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like not all the time, or maybe it's just the person knows what you like. Like, says, being here right now, not with my girlfriend in States, but she knows way to my heart is through homemade food, and so she made me a bunch of homemade granola that I could take with me on the trip. And so even though she's not here on Valentine's Day, it's like it's still, it's like that to me is nice. Yeah, it's like
nice.
getting. I know for me, it's like I feel like I like useful gifts, like food I really want to eat anyway, or
Right.
yeah, something I'll use very often.
Right.
How about you, Thomas? Do you remember the what was the gifts received, or I guess how about on White Day then? Because then the guy gives, is it chocolate, or it could be anything?
It could be
the guy
anything.
gives.
Like, could
anything.
be,
マシュマロっていうのが一つ固定としてはありましたけどね。なぜマシュマロなのかは分かんないですけど、でも大体なんかハンカチとか何か小物を返す。多分大人になったらもうちょっとなんですか、コスメティックな何かになったりとかするのかな。
Yeah, usually, the typical thing is like a marshmallow, because it is White Day, so you have to give something white. But like if you get older, it's more like a handkerchief or something that's more practical use, something small with practical use that you would give. Yeah, for me, I never really celebrated it the Japanese way, or like when between me and my girlfriend, or like now my wife, we just have a nice dinner. Or like I buy a nice steak and we like have a nice steak and like have a nice steak dinner. So that's kind of how we do it always.
Nice.
So, but yeah, because I felt like in Belgium, it's like couples going out for like fancy dinners or doing something romantic, kind of like that, instead of like buying gifts for each other. Or at least that's how I perceived it.
True. Yeah, I think in US, a lot of people, especially by their 30s, you get kind of tired of it just because it feels very commercial.
Yeah.
It's like a reason for restaurants to like charge triple for their normal food.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, yeah, it is. Although we did go out to eat last weekend, but it was a little different.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening this week, and we hope you enjoyed this extended first episode. Again, if you have any ideas, questions, or feedback for us, we'd love to hear from you at podcast@conduit.gg. Especially since we're just starting out, you can really shape where this podcast goes and what we take a shot at answering live on air. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one. Arigatou gozaimasu.